Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new Space Jam New Legacy video. Yeah, these are some of the least viewed videos on the channel, but I still like doing them. Here we have the Bugs Bunny with Acme Blaster 3000. Now, you'll probably remember that Bugs Bunny, this specific Bugs Bunny, has been used in multiple of my size comparison videos. So, I'm really excited to now use the figure itself on a review. But first off, let's take a look at his packaging. Here is Bugs Bunny's packaging, and you'll definitely notice that in comparison to the other Space Jam figures we've seen so far, and the ones we'll see later on, this packaging is very well maintained. That's mainly because, unlike the others, which I got off a discount store, in this case I found this and another figure we'll take a look at someday off of Facebook Marketplace. And I paid a whopping $4. Sealed in the package, I even got two. One has been in sale, but then we have a look at the individually packaged figures. Here we have Bugs Bunny himself, which will be the one we review. The only other one I have of the individual carded figures of this first wave, Marvin the Martian, with the spaceship. And definitely expect a review later on for that Marvin. We have LeBron James. Two LeBron James figures, which are the only ones of this entire line I don't have, just because they're way too similar to the ones that already come out, and I already have two LeBron figures, so I don't really need more. And here are the 4-packs. I mean the 2-packs. I said 4 because there are 4 packs here, but I have all of these, okay? Like, that's why I had two LeBron figures. I had the LeBron James and Kronos 2-pack, which I already reviewed. The Tasmanian Devil in the Brow 2-pack, which I also reviewed. The LeBron James and White Mamba video, the LeBron James and White Mamba review, which I do have these figures, but I'm not sure if I'll do a review on, and the Lola Bunny and Wetfire 2-pack, which I also have, and I'm definitely planning on reviewing later on, but now we took a look at the packaging, let's take a look at the figure. Here we have Space Jam: A New Legacy Bugs Bunny, and this is one of my favorite figures in my collection because it's basically the only Bugs Bunny figure, apart from a Happy Meal toy. This is the only Bugs Bunny figure, like, posable-ish figure I have, and I really like him mainly because of this, and I think he's overall a nicely done-looking Bugs Bunny. Zooming into, for example, the face, I kind of like the expression he has. He definitely looked like Bugs Bunny. Of course, the very long ears, and some people will probably dislike this Bugs Bunny because he has the new Toon Squad uniform, which is something that became a very controversial topic back then. Even nowadays, with the awful reputation Space Jam New Legacy has, these figures have not been very popular. But I honestly really like the new Toon Squad uniform. I dare say I kind of like it a bit more than the original 1996 uniform. I just like the shade of blue and the way that they use the intro Looney Tunes rings is really awesome. As you can see, the white, it's been really nicely painted. And here at his feet, you'll probably notice a few paint scratches. That I'm not sure if it's something that came from the factory or happened here when I got him out of the packaging. There you can see the back, his tail, and overall he's been really nicely done. And I really like this Bugs Bunny, but he's not that impressive after, like, the main look. Like, yeah, it looks like Bugs Bunny, and that's kind of it. And we'll specify on this right now when we take a look at the articulation. To be honest, it's not that much. He only has 4 points of articulation. The first of which is in his head. He can kind of look slightly up and down, side to side. He has a single kind of movement on his arms, being this kind, so he can only move them like this. Sadly, no, I guess we could call it no ball joint. And that is kind of unfortunate. I really wish he had more expansion there, so like the LeBron figure has. And he has a waist joint. I guess they tried to compensate because he has no leg articulation. So the only way you can kind of move him would be to move the waist, but it also cuts to the Toon Squad design. So yeah, not too great. And later versions of the same Bugs Bunny use leg articulation. Maybe this is because this one has shorts. I don't know, but that's literally it for the articulation. Now let's take a look at the accessory. The figure's only accessory is the so-called Acme Blaster 3000, which is basically a large basketball-based bazooka. You can see there how the missile is actually the ball, And this is something that was never in the movie. I actually saw the movie when it came on theaters. It was the first movie I saw in theaters after the pandemic. So that's kind of why the movie means a lot to me. But in terms of the accessory, it's nothing that came in the movie. And it's been really nicely detailed. Like, let me zoom in. I like how the way that they detailed here, where you can see that it's actually strapped with some bandages and tape and such. I think that it's meant to give a more toon feel to it. And I really like how it looks. It's a flick fire missile. So I'm just going to showcase here how it works. And just press it like this, and it kind of just rests into place. Depends on how hard you flick it. Let me just try here. And it doesn't really work as well. Let me try like this. Yeah, not too far. But here with this hand, yeah, it's pretty much a gimmicky toy. In this case, it's meant to be a flick fire missile you can play with. Let me try here. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the phony guns we see characters like the Joker use, like even with the Looney Tunes, that the classic boom gun that you just shoot it, and it only shows a tiny flag that says boom, pow, something like that. So yeah, it really depends on how hard you flick it. And actually, if you flick it harder, you'll see how it shoots with a lot more force. But that's kind of it. And it's honestly an accessory you don't have the figure displayed with, because it's nothing that he actually uses in the movie, so I don't really care much of the accessory. But now that we took a look at Bugs Bunny, let's take a look at some size comparisons. First off, here we have the Moose Toys Bugs Bunny next to their version of LeBron James, and you can definitely notice the consistency here in the outfit. But something that I mentioned sometimes in my Marvel Legends videos is that this Bugs Bunny scales a lot better with those than with his own LeBron James figure. It's that LeBron James is a very tall person, so I do think that maybe a 6-inch figure would have been better here. And sure, the scale kind of works, but I still really wish that this LeBron figure was taller, so he'd be more in scale. But overall, they make an interesting team. Of course, so one of the biggest changes between the original Space Jam and Space Jam and New Legacy is that instead of the Looney Tunes asking the NBA superstar for help, that being back then Michael Jordan, in this case it's LeBron James asking for help from the Tunes. So an interesting twist there, but let's take a look at some other tunes. Speaking of tunes, here is Bugs Bunny next to Lola Bunny. And here's a bit of a story. This Lola Bunny was actually the hardest to find of these Moose Toys Space Jam and New Legacy figures. It was also the most expensive. Of course, she came in a 2-pack with the character Wetfire, so I'm really surprised for how hard it was to actually find this Lola Bunny. I ended up paying like $12 to $13 for that 2-pack, so it was the most expensive 2-pack. Until this point, the most expensive Space Jam thing I own. But they look fantastic next to each other. Now, once I do the Lola Bunny video, I could say from now that these two look very nice next to each other. Of course, the redesigned Lola Bunny with the same looking Bugs Bunny, I think they look nice next to each other. And now let's do the only other Toon comparison for the Toon Squad. That being the Tasmanian Devil. In this case, maybe the Tasmanian Devil should be slightly smaller, but I can't really complain about this. They look really nice next to each other. And here's a fun thing. How about we do a group shot of the Toon Squad members Moose Toys ended up making? Here are the only members that Moose Toys ever did of the Toon Squad. Now, it had multiple sublines for Space Jam and New Legacy. This is like their main line, the action figures, but they also made stuff like mini figurines and such. But they look great next to each other. And that's why I really wish that Moose Toys had done more Toon Squad characters. Like, I really wish they made someone like Wile E. Coyote, the Roadrunner, Sylvester, Tweety, even Daffy Duck, since he was kind of like the manager, Granny, even characters like Gossamer. It would have been super awesome to have had all of those Toon Squad members. And maybe if this line sold better, maybe they would have, at some point with a third wave, maybe have done more Toon characters, but these are the only Toon Squad members we have so far, and probably ever, so yeah, that's a huge shame, but these four look great next to each other. But now let's do some non-Space Jam comparisons. Here is Bugs Bunny next to Sonic the Hedgehog, and this is actually pretty good scaling, I believe. Of course, this is an interaction which will sadly never happen. I really want it to happen, but I think they look cool next to each other. Now, it's kind of funny just seeing how they run the same size, but are completely different in terms of articulation. They're kind of plastic. The Moose Toys kind of plastic is a slightly softer feeling plastic, and that might give a bit of an issue with the paint maybe, but overall, they look really cool next to each other. Here's Bugs Bunny next to classic Sonic. The Marvel Legends Star-Lord, which again, driving my point home again, this is pretty fantastic scaling, to my opinion, even more accurate than the one that Moose Toys did with LeBron James in comparison to the Toons. Of course, the Looney Tunes are meant to be a lot smaller than people, so I think that this works pretty fantastic. And maybe out there might be like an NBA-based, not a Space Jam-based LeBron James figure, like Marvel Legends styled. Who knows? Maybe there is. I'll do research on that for the next Space Jam video I do, in order to be able to concretely say that. But overall, I think this Bugs Bunny looks super fantastic next to some Marvel Legends. Here is Bugs Bunny next to Optimus Prime, some of my favorite characters of all time next to each other. And finally, for some classic Warner Bros. Animation comparisons, here's Bugs Bunny next to these Daphne and Velma figures from Scooby-Doo. And I don't think I'm going to do a video on these, mainly because I don't have the full set. So, I'm still missing Shaggy from this collection, and the Fred that came there, it's not in the best condition. So, I'm sorry, let me know in the comments if you'd like to see these Scooby-Doo figures, but just to showcase some classic Warner Bros. Animation comparisons. They scale fine next to each other, I guess. Maybe the Scooby-Doo character should be slightly bigger, but that's it for size comparisons. So, overall, this is a pretty simple yet effective Bugs Bunny figure. It doesn't really look cheap, it doesn't feel cheap, but I really wish he had a lot more articulation. The look is very nice to me. The accessory is not that interesting. Sure, it's very large, but it's something that they never use in the movie. And even if they did use in the movie, I really would have preferred he came with something like some carrots. And I know that because of Space Jam New Legacy's massive marketing, there are much better Bugs Bunny figures out there. Like, there's one I believe was made by a company called Beast Kingdom, but it's super massive, so I don't think I'm going to get that one. So, for a sort of more scale-accurate Bugs Bunny in my collection, this works. Again, Bugs Bunny, my favorite animated character, my favorite character of all time, so that's mainly why I have this figure in such high regard, because, yeah, it's a pretty simple figure and probably one of the least interesting to a lot of people in this channel, but he's one of my favorites, okay? You'll definitely continue to see him for a long time in the size comparisons. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you think about this Bugs Bunny figure. That's it. Thanks for watching.